All right. What up? What up? It's your girl Tiff B First, and you are watching Black Girls Boulder. Now, I know this is very different from anything that I've ever done. And see, that's me making sure we go on live. And so I really wanted this page, this space, this YouTube to also create space to elevate folks who are doing what I perceive as Black excellent things in the outdoors. My biggest thing and the whole reason why I even started this channel is to really just raise awareness about climbing, show people that look like me that we do this, that we out here, and hopefully motivate folks to get on the wall. And so I'm really, really excited to do this special feature today because as someone who has planned a climbing festival, I know how much work is involved. I know how much heart is put into it. And so I really wanted to create a stage and a space where this person can talk about the work that they're doing and we can elevate each other and the work that we all are doing out here. So I am going to bring in and I'm going to introduce my friend who I've never met in real life yet before, but
Hey.
pretend like, we're homies and we're friends and we've met a million times because it feels like we have.
I mean, we got that chemistry, so that's what matters, right?
It's vibes on vibes. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I'm like, I feel like I could be your older auntie, but that's okay.
Hey, we love a fun on.
I'm pretty fun. Just FYI, we haven't climbed together yet, but you will see that I'm fun on and off the wall. So, joining me this evening is Jason Traylor. Correct me if I'm butchering any parts of your name.
No, you're that's my name.
And so I'm bringing Jason on because Jason has this amazing event coming up in May, first weekend in May. So if you are in the Southeast or if you're across the country and you're really good at making plans really quickly, because I am one of those people, you know, this festival is really an incredible space that you're creating. And so I do want to talk about what you're doing with the space, what's all going on. But before we get into that, I really want to know a little bit more about you, who you are, and really, what I consider my first question for probably everyone that I'll feature in this series is how did you fall in love with climbing? Like, how did you get introduced to climbing? And then we'll get into the advocacy element and the work that you did or do. And then we'll talk about the festival.
All right, cool. So start off, my name's Jason. From Atlanta, Georgia. Some cool things, fun facts. I don't know if you want to know about me. I actually went to school for music. So I'm like a classically trained singer. And I worked at Disney and entertainment for a little bit, and then been climbing actually for over 11 years now. It just hit the over 11 years mark this month actually. And How I got involved with climbing is a friend of mine who I went to high school with was like, you should get a job with me. And I was like, okay, I got nothing else to do. So I was like, cool, I got a job with her. And I'd climbed before, like, at like the like little portable rock walls at like fairs or like a festival or anything of that nature. It was fun. I enjoyed myself. Always got to the top because your boy's a climber. Uh,
Naturally.
Naturally, who knew that years later what I'll be doing the things I do now. And so, anyways, I got a job with her, and I guess the rest was like kind of history. Like I was, so I was always joke. I was the kid in high school. I was like a drama kid. Obviously, went to school for music, so theater and all that stuff is like in my blood. But I was not like an athletic person whatsoever. So I definitely was the kid, and I'm not even like making a like hyperbolic statement. I literally got 6 cookies every day at lunch every day. I got 3 Carnival, which are the three like and then I got 3 chocolate chip cookies. Yeah, and I was that kid who would always eat a bunch of sweets and just was not super athletic or anything like that, but I was like really involved with drama. But so I got into climbing, and it was like super fun. Like I was like, oh, this is like working out, but it's not like working out. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm not like, all right, 1, 2, 3. Like it's like, oh, I'm gonna do this like side pull into this underclean, and then maybe I don't know. It's just like super like engaging, like stimulating, really, to be honest. Because I'm a person who, I don't know if it's very obvious. I'm very animated. I'm very like, extroverted, and just like I need a lot of stimulus. I'm undiagnosed ADHD, but so I need a lot of stimulus to keep me going. And so climbing was something that really stimulated me, mentally, obviously, and physically. And it's just like so much fun. And from there, I just kept climbing, went outside, doing the things. And here we are 11 years later.
So can you tell me a little bit about where you're based? Because I think that plays a big part in into to some degree in your climbing story. Like the access to climbing is always so unique to me. Like I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I never heard of rock climbing until I was 35. So I was like, what is this thing that people do? Mind you, I've been climbing rocks my whole life. I just didn't know that there was a thing that people did it intentionally. And so the
Wait, you like people actually get on the wall and get climb up these things for real?
I know. I was like, why didn't anyone tell me this when I was 18 when I could have went to a college that had a climbing wall and like
Hmm.
actually pursued the sport? Because I would have. Like that's how much I actually truly fell in love with it. But I just want to talk a little bit about where you're based, because I think I have a love for the South. I really do. My family came from the South. I almost moved to Atlanta before choosing to move to New York. So I feel like you all have a unique access to so many different places to climb. I'm curious, like your climbing journey from indoors to outdoors, or how that was sort of navigated.
Yeah. So, and as you said, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. So the north part of Georgia, if you're not good with the geography, and there's a ton. Like the South is known for its sandstone. It is the Southern sandstone. It is probably some of the best quality rock that anyone can ever touch. It is really strong and it's really sticky sometimes, and that's what else do you want in a rock? You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of areas in like the Northeast Alabama, which like the festival that will be I'm planning is going to be at. But the Chattanooga region, which is like rich in climbing, and not just like, and it's like world class climbing because we have like Stone Fort, which is like a world class bouldering field. But we have like crags such as like Woodcock Cove or Foster Falls and Denny Cove and all these like massive, like big crags that have like, 90 feet walls and stuff like that. And it's like all within like an hour and a half, well, depending on where you're coming from in the Atlanta area in traffic, obviously. But like again, generally like hour and a half, 2 hours, to go like on day trips and things like that. So it makes it very accessible. I mean, you just have to like plan a whole day around it, but it's like very accessible in that sense of like getting there, and driving. There's not like very remote areas per se. Like you can easily use most like get any kind of car to the crag, because I know like some places like you hope you have four-wheel drive, you know. And with that, also the approaches are generally pretty not too crazy. I would say on average between 20 minutes to like a little over 30 minutes, depending on where you're walking into crags. And there are some crags that it's literally like a 2 to 5 minute approach. So like super great. And so yeah, just the amount of climbing that's in this area and like the proximity to Atlanta, it makes it very accessible, in that sense with getting outside. It did take me like a little bit longer to go outside when I first started, but then once went outside, then I was like, oh no, you better watch out because I'm going in all the time.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
but yeah,
it's it's so different. It's so different, but it's just as addictive to some degree. Like I love the gym. I love outside, but they're so different to me. I don't really know how to explain it.
yeah,
I'm just
no.
envious that there is so much amazing climbing. where you
Yeah.
are. No shade to New York. Like, yeah, we got the
I
gunk,
mean, she cool, she cool. She got her you got the gunks, whatever, whatever.
but it I don't know. I also have an affinity towards sandstone. You
It's
know,
like you plan a festival out in, like, in Chattanooga or something.
I might, I don't know. It's something about me. So all I know is I think I do this. God, that southern sandstone is beautiful compared to granite. No shade. So
Oh, as someone who's climbed also on granite, I understand completely.
yeah. So there's pros and cons, but that's another episode for another day. So tell me, I want to talk about your advocacy work uh,
Mhm.
because at some point you decided I'm climbing. I'm loving it. This is for me. And then you said, I
Oh,
want to do
wait.
something else to bring other
Yeah.
people into this space, as we all kind of do. I don't know if it's just this like drunk off the climbing world, but you're like, I want everybody to be doing this. Why
Yeah.
aren't we all doing
Why isn't not everyone my friend too?
this?
Yeah.
So, whatever the motivation is, whether it's to make new friends, like I would love for you to talk to me about Unharnessed Pride, or if there is something you did before that that kind of led to that space. Just tell me a little bit about the spaces that you have created, do create in Atlanta, in the South. I know you do a lot. I know that's one thing I learned about you. You're like me, doing the most,
You
and
can't say no.
I'm not mad at it because it's a good trait to have if you're capable of actually doing it and not burning out, and
Yeah.
if it still fulfills you and it's something you still enjoy, like go for it. But yeah, I would love to know about what it is you do in the advocacy space, because to me that's kind of what started this Alabama potluck in action.
Yeah, no, 100%. So beginning 2021, like kind of right after our something called COVID. I don't know if y'all heard of that. There was a brand new bouldering gym that was like opening up or had to open up. And they were trying to be more involved with the community that they were in, as well as obviously the climbing community. And so what I did, I reached out to them and I was like, hey, like I think it would be really cool and like is it possible that we could partner in doing like either like maybe like a BIPOC climbing group climbing meetup or like an LGBT plus climbing group, like two groups that I identify as being a part of. And so we went with doing the LGBT climbing group, and which you said Unharnessed Pride Climbing Club. And it's been super cool. I one thing I really enjoy about Unharnessed Pride is compared to like other like queer climbing groups and stuff like that, we like actively advertise like we're also for allies as well. Like it's not just like the queer people, it's also our allies. Because the thing about in any space that like deals with underrepresented communities, we can't go anywhere really without the help of our allies. Like obviously we can do some stuff, but at the end of the day we really need some support from allies,
Mhm.
and so I thought it was really important to also have a space for them, because not only can we learn from them, but they can also learn from us and be more of an advocate for us in spaces that maybe we're not in, or maybe it's just like a bunch of straight people and like there are like maybe transphobic comments or homophobic comments, and they can actually be like, actually, blah, 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 blah. So as a way as to make that kind of advocacy. Also, when you're building a bridge, you can't just like build a bridge on one side and then not expect it. So I think and if you're trying to build community and bring people together, it's best to build a bridge on both sides and be able to join everyone together. So that's why it's very inclusive. And I'm just a very like welcome wagon. I just love everyone for the most part. There are some people who
Like
are not.
you. You're not like me. I'm like, nah, this for my people.
Yeah. No, I mean there are some points where I'm like that, but for the most part, I'm very just welcoming, and I just like want to be able to share the love of that I have for climbing with everyone that I meet. So, anyways, started the group. It's been going, it's been growing and stuff like that, and so I was like, oh, maybe we can do like maybe an outdoor meetup. We'll see. I've never led a bunch of like people outside. I've been climbing for a while. Like I'm a great climber. I'm really knowledgeable of things outside and like how to set things up. But like there's like another element when you're like, I'm now kind of, even though it's like climb for yourself, like you're on your own per se, like, safety, all that jazz.
Mhm.
Um, but at the same time, it's like it's all on you because like someone gets hurt, it's like on you. And then you also have to deal with that too. Which I mean, I'm more than welcome to deal with it, but I would love to not deal with that. So we did our first meetup, outdoor meetup. We had probably about 25 people join, which was like a lot more than I was expecting. Also, it was still daunting. But it was great. Everyone had a great time, and it was really cool because it was like, I think the best time for people who, because the thing with like any like probably affinity group like Unharnessed Pride or anything like that, you have the people who are like climbers who like go on the weekends and whatnot. They take climbing trips, they do all that things. But then there are the people who are like, oh yeah, climbing's a fun little recreation sport that I will do like in the gym or whatnot. Um, and so it's really, and also it's very daunting to go outside if you don't have experience or you don't have the equipment or anything like that. So I always recommend like, hey, because I also work at one of the local climbing gyms. So it's like, if you guys need gear, because a whole thing about climbing and all that stuff is like the accessibility also when it comes to the financial accessibility, being able to afford all these things, being able to, all that stuff, to get into the world of outdoor climbing. And so anyways, I'm like, if you need like climbing shoes, let me know. Like I can literally just steal some of the rental shoes from the gym and well, borrow. Or like I have a bunch of like, I mean, yeah. Or like I have a bunch of extra harnesses and things like that. And so being able to have people who would not normally come outside and show them what the great outdoors is all about, is like one of those, how like the like MasterCard or whatever, it's priceless. It's like one of those like moments for me. It's like being able to like introduce people to the climbing outside. And then my favorite is when they realize how much fun it is outside, and then they get even more addicted to it indoors. And then of course, like because of that, they're trying to do more outdoor activities. So anyways, I continue. Sorry, I'm like just going all and all and all.
Yeah.
And so anyways, from that, I started doing more and more outdoor meetups and things of that nature. And I'm like also involved with another queer climbing event called Homo Climbtastic. It's this big climbing
Mhm.
convention, whatever you want to call it, in the New River Gorge every July. And from that, I became friends with a lot of other people. And like specifically the Austin, Texas group, which is called Glam. They host this thing called Best Little Crag in Texas. And so I was like, you know what, why not? I'll go climb on some, because I had just come back from Kalymnos. And so I was like, limestone, I need limestone. And so in Austin, it's like all of their crag is limestones.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, it's
Interesting.
surprise.
Limestone is interesting. I have thoughts, but
She'd be like, hey, what's up? And then also she'd be like, nah, not today, you
yeah, a
know?
little spunky there. I don't know.
But then she like has some really cool features. Like, I'll give me a tufa any day.
Okay, I'm a fan of the Tufas, and once I actually saw one in real life compared to the gym version of a Tufas,
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool feature. Now I get it.
Yeah, right. And there's like tufas that are like, all right, they're like, oh, these are cool little baby tufa. And then there's like tufas that are bigger than me. That like I remember like in Greece, literally straddling a tufa in the middle of a climb, just like literally just riding it like a horse or whatever. It
Oh
was,
my goodness.
and it's bigger than me. Yeah, crazy. So anyways, I go to Austin, have the time of my life, and I'm like, wait a second. Like, I think we should plan something similar to this in Atlanta, or not Atlanta, in the like, chat area, like the South area. So I came up with the idea of the Chattanooga Kiki, since I've had experience, taking people out. So I was like, like what happened? Like it's like a bougie outdoor meetup. So I created the Chattanooga Kiki last October. It's a big queer climbing weekend. We had over 40 people come our first year.
Yes.
So that was really exciting. And I'm definitely planning on having more people, because more people are like, oh my god, this looks like so much fun, I'm definitely going. So I have an inkling that it's going to be more than 40, which is
A
yay.
little intense. I know that feeling. It's like, yay!
I'm so happy that you guys want to come. However, that's
But
yeah.
it's a lot.
Yeah, right. But luckily I have like with like the Chattanooga Kiki, I have like two great people that help me out that are also run the like queer groups in their areas. So it's not just like just me, but it's still a lot. So anyways, I created the Chattanooga Kiki, which was a multi-day climbing camping weekend in Chattanooga. And we had like fun little activities at the end of the night, obviously climbing in the day and stuff like that. So it was like such a great experience. And then I had been training my friend Mary, who's a paraclimber, and being intermixed with the paraclimbing community was really cool because I obviously don't have any disabilities or any of that nature. But we all share a common theme that we all have barriers.
Mhm.
And even though your barriers look different than mine, but we still have barriers and there's still like this intersectionality of our barriers. You know what I mean? And so like I was really bonding over the intersections between their community and the communities that I represent and identify with. And I was just like, there has to be something. There has to be something that like brings everyone together,
Mm.
right? I mean, there are a few events, but none of them happen in the deep south, which
Yeah.
is if you guys haven't done like your history and like, watched like some videos and stuff like that, I would say especially Alabama and like the Mississippi, the deep south has been historically known to not be the most accepting for people who are outside like the majority. And I thought, why not? And again, all like there's so many different festivals that happen, but again, they never happen in the deep south.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was like, you know what? What not like create this festival, this grassroots climbing festival that is in the deep south, that is all about inclusion, and it's kind of like a you to like the traumatic history that we have as underrepresented people. And so with that being said, I created well, I am creating, it hasn't happened yet, but I have been developing this festival called the Alabama Potluck. This is the logo. Oh god, okay, I was trying to show, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing about the logo that I really love, who Ashton, my friend who creates all of my logos for me, we were talking about like how are we going to incorporate like different communities within a logo and like kind of have that togetherness. And
Mhm.
so we came up with like this like hands together, coming together kind of motion. And each like there's different things represented in each hand. So like one hand, I guess I can just pan this down for a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So this like hand is obviously a prosthetic hand, so it represents the adaptive community. Um, we have this hand that has some of like the like sobriety and like mental health kind of things. So which is a community, by the way, that I feel like personally does not get enough
Mhm.
knowledge acknowledgement within the climbing community or just in the world in general. And then obviously we have BIPOC represented, and then like the LGBT community, and then they have like this rope that draws and brings everything together. And so that's kind of like the premise of the logo. But yeah, so it's basically a grassroots climbing festival about bringing communities that face barriers to climbing and creating a space that is safe and welcoming so that we can bond and have fun and learn about each other and all this stuff. And the reason why it's called the Alabama Potluck, and it's just like any other potluck, because I know you all have been to potlucks, you bring all your great fun dishes to the table and you share that. That's the whole point of this event, is to bring your experiences and bring your what you've gone through and just bond and share that with everyone. And so that's how the name of the Alabama Potluck came.
I'm glad you answered it because it was on my list of
You're
questions.
welcome. I kind of already
You did my job for me. Thank you so much.
no. So yeah, that's kind of how the Alabama Potluck kind of came into be. It was like very long-winded story for that.
So can you tell me how, and we'll get deeper into it because I would like to know more about the venue,
Hmm.
where this festival is happening,
Okay.
and then I have the schedule so we can take a deep dive into the schedule. 'Cause
Okay.
I think it's important for someone who may, whether you're watching it live or rewatching it, to really get a sense of what the experience is going to be like. But can you just tell me a little bit about your nonprofit, Climb Beyond the Barrier, and how that connects with the festival, or what is your mission with the nonprofit, as it whether it relates to Unharnessed Pride, or do you have other initiatives that you're planning around that, or is it specifically focused on the festival?
Yeah. So obviously playing this grassroots climbing festival, I realized very soon that life would be easier if this was being hosted by a nonprofit, because companies and people will donate more, or will actually just donate or give you the time of day if you are some like official nonprofit organization, because they're like, oh, we can just write this off or whatever.
Mhm.
Not saying that they don't mean it if you like aren't, but it's just like it gives them more of a benefit, to be honest. Like that's what it is at the end of the day. And so I again had been planning all these different like spaces for different like underrepresented communities. And I was like, what if like I also create this nonprofit which would incorporate the festival, but also incorporate the other things that I do. So it's all under one umbrella. So it would help with like funding, because like a lot of times when it comes to anything, when it comes to like Unharnessed Pride or the Chattanooga Kiki, I was just paying things out of my pocket. Like sometimes people had given me money to like for the group and whatnot, but like most of the times I was just paying things out of my pocket just because I was all about the mission, like, I mean, and I still am. But so I decided to create Climb Beyond the Barrier. So Climb Beyond the Barrier again is a 501, officially a 501c3 organization. And our mission is about creating, making climbing more accessible for communities that face barriers to climbing, and creating spaces and programs that are welcoming and just safe for everyone, because that's like one barrier, or like, especially as like, Black individuals going out to these like more like rural areas, sometimes we're not the most welcomed
Yeah.
bunch of folk, like I know you felt it, I've felt it before. And so like it's very important, especially communities that are not, again, the majority, um, have a safe space to participate in climbing. And so with that being said, so all of the things that I do, also my board, one of my board members also runs like the queer groups in like Ohio. And
Mhm.
so he has like a program that is at the Red in October as well. That's a queer climbing weekend, called Muir Valley Pride. That also brings, that's also under the nonprofit as well. And so, all right, my goal, my dream would be able to obviously fund all of these things, but also keep growing the network, to incorporate more and more affinity groups, not just queer groups or BIPOC groups, but maybe like if we have like adaptive groups or mental health groups or anything like that. So it's just like an overarching like organization that helps fund these like smaller, like kind of
Like a
grassroots, yeah, like a pipeline that how allows people, because like the thing with like any of these groups and these things, it's like sometimes like starting it, it's like the financial barrier. And to be able to help provide for different communities and things like that, even if it's not in the Atlanta area, that is like my goal. And also to create, um like eventually my goal is to have like kind of like a scholarship kind of program, or like financial assistance for different people who have barriers and they need like a financial assistance when it comes to like climbing related activities, um like let's say you're a paraclimber and you're trying to go to like a World Cup or whatever, and you need like a few bucks or whatever.
Mhm.
You'd like come to us, and then obviously you apply and you do like the application, all that stuff. And then our board will sit down and then say yay or nay or whatever, depending on what the need is. And then hopefully be able to provide that so that our goal is to, our vision is to view a future with little to no barriers to entry when it comes to climbing and participation. And so that is my 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 end goal. Well, I guess not end goal. My the goal that I want to be able to achieve with the nonprofit.
Yeah, and all this is in the comments. So, if you're looking for how can you support Climb Beyond the Barrier, how can you donate? How can you get tickets to the upcoming Alabama Potluck, the inaugural Alabama Potluck?
Boom, boom.
Check check the description for all that information, and all your socials and how folks can get connected to every single thing that you do and the work that you're doing, because I think it's amazing, it's incredible. And again, for me, it's just making sure that we put each other on pedestals, and we, share as much beta as we can, and we uplift our communities who are trying to make the climbing space a better place. So I can't think of a better place to transition to now that we're halfway through.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the fest.
Yeah.
Well,
Wait, there's a festival?
I don't know. I think that's why we're here. I know that's what, folks are like, just get to it already. So I would love to first know a little bit about where you are hosting this festival, the town, the crag, like kind of walk me a little bit through your location choice. Because is this the same place where you do your Kiki event, or is this a whole different?
It's a whole different place.
Yeah, that's in Chattanooga, so this is Alabama. So yeah, let me know about this crack, because I've looked at it. I don't know. I've never heard of this area.
Yeah,
I know
so
the South climbing.
no, you're good, you're good. So the place that we're going to is called Sandrock, or so the official name is Cherokee Rock Village, but I feel it's been known as Sandrock for the longest time. So one and the same. Again, in Alabama, in a town called Leesburg. It's a small, I don't know, Alabama town. Not a lot going on there. It's not like a town like, for instance, like in like where the red is, like there's like a big, rich like climbing community. It's just literally just a town. And so, anyways, it's on top of a little mountain. It's a good size, I would say. It's not like massive, but there's probably about like 300 climbs. There's also like little bouldering there. There's also different trails and things like that. So it's not just, you can also go there for other reasons per se. And also when it comes to the climbing, even though I did mention that it has like bouldering, but it also, when it comes to grade wise, it has like climbs that are super like accessible when it comes to like lower grades. And then they also have like a lot of harder grades, but they also have the same thing when it comes to trad. So there's a lot of easy trad and there's a lot of, again, hard trad. So it's like basically this great place that has everything anyone who's a climber could use, could need, and there's like something for everyone, depending on your skill level or whatever you're looking for, in style or yada yada. So anyways, I knew about this, and then also with like the climbing festival being inclusive of all communities that face barriers, the community that has the biggest barrier when it comes to especially like physically being and navigating the terrain, it would be like the adaptive community. There's this really great organization who I'm also partnering with for this festival. It's called Catalyst Sports. Yeah, they do a lot of stuff throughout the US with adaptive people. They do adaptive cycling, adaptive like water sports like kayaking. And again, I don't know, maybe because I just know them from climbing, but I feel like their biggest one is climbing. And they've been doing this for like years and years. So anyways, so making sure that the people in that community, sorry about that. The people in that community are also as equally welcome and equally able to participate in the festival was like my main like guiding point for deciding this area, because I know that Catalyst has done multiple events at Sandrock, and so I know that it's possible and it's feasible to have that. And that's, to be honest, is really the main factor of why it's at Sandrock or the Cherokee Rock Village, for that reason, because I want to make sure again that there's been some, and even talking with the people from Catalyst, there's been several festivals where like, oh yeah, it's like adapted people are so welcome and blah blah blah, but then you're like, how does this person who is wheelchair bound be able to like access the festival,
Yeah.
because you don't make it like truly accessible for people. And so it is my goal, again, working closely with Catalyst to make sure that if someone wants to participate, and we've like, it's in the description or anything like that, if you need any kind of like accommodation or anything like that, to reach out to us just to make sure that you are going to enjoy the festival without any barriers, because again, it's all about breaking barriers and, you know, enjoying things.
And how far is it from Atlanta? If I'm in Atlanta and I want to come, like how long of a drive is it?
It's about, I would say, a little bit around like an hour 45, give or take. Again, of course, depending on Atlanta traffic, because she's always there.
Yeah. Oh, I know. And then from Chattanooga, is it similar? Is it kind of like that?
I think it's closer, I want to say, from Chattanooga.
Okay, cool.
I've never really thought about. I know it's close in a sense, like in the grand scheme, close, like an hour and some change. But I want to say it is closer to Chat than it is to Atlanta.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm bringing up the schedule. As we mentioned, the festival begins May 3rd. So you have less than a month to get your ticket. And again, tickets are linked below where you can get tickets. You can find tickets, I believe, also in both of our Instagram pages. You can find that in my Black Girl Twitter page. So no excuses for not knowing where to go to find out information.
No excuses.
But yeah, let's dive in a little bit and let's start with Friday and what people can kind of expect. Because I would love to know, what is a campfire potluck and what does that look like? Am I expected to make my black eyed peas and get those situated and bring those to, to the campground? What's
That's exactly what it is, to be honest. It's really about, so it's a session to bring people together, and of course it's like the kickoff event. So basically you're gonna cook some whatever dish you want, as long, you know, some kind of shareable dish, preferably, because hence, you know, bonding and sharing is the whole point of the festival. You cook something on your campfire, and then you bring it over, because at Sand Rock, it's one of the most, I would say, also developed crags. There's facilities there for bathrooms and all that jazz. There's a nice big pavilion. Again, of course, like things are maintained. But so we're gonna come to the pavilion and like just have like a potluck. That's really what it is. So you create the food create whatever your shareable meal is on your campfire, bring it to the pavilion, and then we just bond and eat and chill. We'll like be like, all right, like, welcome to the potluck. I'm Jason. Here are some of the leaders, like those kind of like formalities and stuff like that too throughout that little session. But the most thing is about hanging out and talking and getting to meet new people and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's chill. Friday, Friday start festivals. It's a travel day. It's get in, get settled, get to your campground. Now, as far as lodging, when someone gets there, does their ticket come with a campsite or lodging? Do they have to bring their own tent? Like, what do people need to be prepared to bring with them?
Yeah, I guess you can say BYOCS, bring your own campsite. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have the means to be able to provide like shelters and like, there are cabins and things like that. So yeah, you just bring your own tent or sleep in your car or whatever you need to venture this weekend. And yeah, that's about it. You would pay because like the festival fee is separate from like the park fee.
Mhm.
And so you just pay like the park fee
And then you
for
can
the
just pop up your tent and you're good.
yeah, and you can go wherever on the park basically. And it's pretty
Okay.
big when it comes to like where you can set things up and stuff like that.
Okay. Cool. 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 All right. Well, now that I got my tent set up, although I am also one of those bougie people who don't
Mhm.
sleep outside, I think I might have mentioned that to you, but it's fine. It's fine. If
There
there's
is a bed and breakfast not far down the road.
yeah, the funny thing is, so here's the thing. Here's a very small thing about me. Like I said, this isn't about me, but
But we're gonna make it about you this moment. I get
just
you.
for like 25 seconds.
Mhm.
I don't sleep outside in a tent, although I have and I will, but I would prefer just a bit more tighter walls. So I'll sleep in a RV, in a cabin, in a bunkhouse. Like I'll sleep in campy type things, but I don't own a tent. I don't want to own a tent. I don't want to pitch a tent. I don't really want to get wet or sleep in a tent. Um, but I can do the outdoor thing. That's all I'm saying. I can be outside. I
I
just
can, if you really have to, you could do it.
I can't. And maybe one day I'll see the beauty in it. People still keep trying to convince me that like, no, it's a vibe. It's a you get up and you go climb. And I'm like, but I want to shower.
Yeah, like, if I'm gonna be completely honest, like, not that, like, I don't like, the ideal of camping does not bother me, but the quality of sleep I get, I can never get a good quality sleep. Like, I'm bougie, like, I need my, like, my, like, nice, like, memory foam pillows and nice, super comfy bed to actually get, like, an actual good sleep. So, like, yes, I'll camp. Will I enjoy the sleeping part of it and all that jazz? No, I will not.
It's a sacrifice. It's for the
It
love of bouldering. It's fine.
Yeah,
Or the rock, period. Not mad at it. All right, so let's dive into the schedule.
yeah,
Saturday is all the way packed. So
yes.
I mean, we got just a straight 12 hours of things. So I think most of this is obvious, but I really want to dive into the things that I'm like, what is
What
that?
is that?
What does that mean? Obviously I know what yoga's about. But talk to me about spilling tea with
With
morning
Morning
joe.
Joe.
Yeah.
Alright, I am, like, a weird person who loves, like, funny names or just quirky names or anything like that. So spilling tea with Morning Joe is really, like, a chill, like, you get your coffee or your tea because 'cause I'm a tea drinker, so I was like, "I'm not just gonna talk about coffee."
Same.
So that's why the tea comes first. Uh, so I just thought it was a funny name, like, spilling tea with Morning Joe because Morning Joe
I
coffee.
got you. I got you now. Like I got it. I
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if there was somebody named Joe who was gonna be up there.
And literally just spilling tea. That'd be so funny. I'd be like, "Yo, man, the ranger over there, just blah blah blah." Blah. And like, yeah. No, no, no. Yeah. So I'm actually partnering with a local Atlanta coffee roaster company called Finca de Filter. It's actually ran by a queer woman, so that's also super cool. Keeping it, I wouldn't say keeping it local because we're not in Atlanta, but keeping it local in that sense, not kind of like grassroots, woman owned, like small business kind of vibe.
I say to me, Alabama, Tennessee, and Georgia, that's local. If you source from those like trifecta of states, then it's local. Because I've struggled to try to find things that I was looking for in Chattanooga. So sometimes I gotta go to Atlanta to get what I'm looking for. So
Yeah.
it's good. And no matter what, to me, if you're supporting, I'm really big on supporting small owned businesses, up and coming orgs. So it still to me falls within the mission of what it is you're trying to do. So
Yeah. No,
well,
100%. So moving on to the brave, the bold, and the femme.
yep.
It's going to be a fun little climbing session with the Ladies Climbing Coalition chapter.
Hmm.
And I have two Atlanta chapter people leading it. And so it's just a fun, like, climb, hang out time, like in the crag with the Ladies Climbing Coalition. So if you like fall within like the perimeters of what usually they're going for. Again, no like exclusion, but in a sense, it's like more geared for women and trans people.
Yeah, it's an affinity space within the fest. It
Yeah,
gives someone who is maybe seeking a community that they can connect with, to just have a little bit of space within the larger space.
yeah.
So I see that there's two happening at 9 o'clock. So I assume they're of similar concept as far as like going out, but what
Yeah, so there's like multiple things that people can do at the same time. Like not at the same time, but like, oh, like I'm gonna go climb with the Ladies Climbing Coalition, but then but you're gonna go do the Leave It on the Trail, not really session. You know what I mean? So like, you get to choose what you want, in a sense. Obviously, you can't do everything because you can't be in multiple places at once. But that was kind of like the goal of that. So Leave It on the Trail, not really is actually a little small trail day that the Southeastern Climbers Coalition, which is our like local climbers coalition group that maintains all of the climbing in these southeastern states.
yeah.
And then Sandrock is actually one of their locations that they partner with the landowners with. And so they are constantly maintaining the land, maintaining the hardware on the walls and stuff like that. And I thought, what not a better way to give back to the land that we're on, but to also literally give back and like help spruce it up and whatnot. So it'd be like a small light trail day. So not like anything crazy. You're not like drilling into the rock or anything like that. So a nice light trail day. And then there's also like a little leave no trace kind of session attached to that. So that's
Nice.
why it's like leave it on the trail. Not really.
I got it. I got it. See, so here's it. This is why I'm happy we're doing this, because I love that you're witty with the words, and
Mm-hmm.
I am a wordsmith. And so I knew there was something behind these, but I feel like when you're just looking at a flyer without going into like the website or the Eventbrite and looking into the details of everything, you won't necessarily know. Like you can kind of conjure up your own ideas.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that there is something to it, and it's a play on words, and it
Gives it like a little bit of personality.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
put you in this. This is your baby. Like, one thing I will always tell people planning events, planning festivals, like, this is your baby. Own it, birth it, nurse it, and then hopefully don't mess it up.
Yeah. I was like, I won't shake it. I promise. I won't shake it.
No, you'll be good. All right. So now we got a bunch of 1 o'clock or 1 hour events from 10 to 12 in the afternoon. There's three different things. Are these workshops?
Yeah, so some of them. So Adapt to a New World is we're partnering again with like we talked about with Catalyst. It's about bringing people who are adaptive climbers who don't have a lot of experience with the outdoors, and trying to make it more accessible and like kind of adapting them to a new world of climbing. So climbing outside, and then also for people who are interested in working with the adaptive community can also participate in the session. Sorry, I blanked for a second. Could also participate in the session, so they can also see what it's like to be in working with adaptive individuals and stuff like that.
Will this be like a rope focused workshop?
Yeah, it'd be rope focus. The best thing to do generally, like most things with adaptive climbers, just because like in general, everyone can basically do ropes, but not everyone can do bouldering. And just so as like a risk mitigation thing, they adaptive climbing things generally are more rope centered and things like that. Not saying that adaptive individuals can't
Boulder.
boulder. Yeah, I was like, what is that called? Can you tell that I'm a sport climber?
I can. Can you tell that I'm a boulderer?
No, not at all.
With my crep cup,
I
like
know, right? I'm just
you keep your trad gear,
yeah.
even though I got this.
I was like, as you literally have trad gear right behind you.
I know, and it's purely for looks, because Lord knows I have no idea what to do with those. I'm not gonna say how I got them; they were gifted to me, and I know people who are like, "Give them to me, I want them." And once
Nah, they're
upon
yours.
a time, I did want to be a trad girl. I did.
You
I was
saying you can't be a trad mama? You can still be a
COVID,
trad mama.
COVID messed it up. I was about to take a whole trad intro to trad clinic, and then COVID happened, and then I got hurt, and then it was just like game over for me on the ropes. Like, y'all, I'm gonna stick to my bouldering stuff, which I know sounds backwards, but
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna let you say that, but
I have never gotten hurt bouldering.
that's funny. The only times I've been hurt have been bouldering.
I know. That's what everyone tells me, and I don't know how. I have never been injured, and of course, the only injury I ever have is a rope one, so it scarred me a little, but I'm working on it. It's fine. All right, so that's super cool because I know there's different like gear and equipment that is utilized, and I think it's nice to be introduced if you've never like volunteered for an adaptive group, as a belayer, or I find the entire space really fascinating. And for me, kind of also now intersecting into that community, and trying to accept my disability and like, navigate it. Obviously, ropes is something that I should be doing more often. So I think it's cool that that space.
I like how you're like, I should be doing it more often.
I should. I'm a risk taker, y'all. I love the boulders, and I'm just gonna ride this life until the wheels fall off. All right, radical imagination and climbing. What can we expect?
Sorry, it's so funny. So this is actually a really cool session. This is with Maria Mendoza, who actually is in Patagonia's like newest film, What the Hands Can Do.
Mm-hmm.
I actually met up with her at a local Patagonia store because they were doing like a filming, and they asked like Unharnessed Pride to be a part of it. Um, and so, anyways, I met up with her, and she actually lives in Alabama, and I was like, "What if I
Okay.
just like, the worst she could say is no." But anyways, so I was like, "Hey, like, I'm planning this event. Like, would you like wanna possibly?" And like, she was absolutely yes, like, hands down. Um, and so she's gonna talk about like kind of creating your own story with climbing, and like how we can be better stewards of the land as well as stewards of like the communities, and kind of like talk about like decolonization of climbing and things of that nature. So that's all. It's more of like a sitting down talking,
Yeah.
and not so much of a physical class, but just like, listen, talk, and like just bond over things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, education comes in many forms. So, you can be on the wall almost anytime, but where you can actually like make these connections and learn something that you didn't know before you walked in. I'm a big proponent of learning something new every day if I can. So, awesome. Taking things to heart.
And I didn't misspell heart, if you were wondering.
I do not think you had a typo for the record. I also probably would have told you if I thought that. So,
It was like, you posted the schedule with a big typo. Um, so taking things to heart, equitable access and route setting is going to be done by Danny Hartman. They are, so the gym that I do a lot of things with, the Overlook, they are their head setter. So I have them coming in, teaching and talking about route setting and like what it's like, and like being in the world of being also, queer, and just like the joys of route setting, as someone who also route sets. So there's like sometimes a lot of politics involved with it, and just, it's not the most equitable, let's be honest. I'm not saying that they aren't making steps to making it more equitable, but it is definitely, as someone who has dealt with a lot of things that are, definitely showing my barriers, has been known in the route setting world. So anyways, so yeah, so that's what that class is about. Talking and hanging out with them. And then I also have Sarah Jane, who's also like a route setter with the Overlook as well, and they're also going to be taking part with that session and kind of assisting with that as well.
And can we take a moment to shout out the Overlook?
Oh.
Just side note, the Overlook has supported me for every single year that I've been doing things in the South, and there's some real ones. That's all I'm gonna say is go check out the Overlook Bouldering if you're in Atlanta, if you're visiting. I don't think I've done a gym review, but that's fine. I'll get to that.
I was like, where's that Yelp review at?
I know, but I know I haven't taken y'all inside of the Overlook because usually I'm just like working or tired or can't climb for whatever reason. But definitely check them out, support them, give them a follow on Instagram. They really are for the people. I will say that.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if it wasn't for them, this all would not be happening. So
Yeah. So I just wanted to create that space for a second because you gotta show love.
they're the real homies. They're the MVPs.
Faux show. Okay, so I am gonna skip over lunch. And I do want to talk about this midday meditation because one thing that I definitely instituted at the festival that I do last year was wellness and emphasizing wellness, especially Black mental health, and just there's just a lot. We deal with a
Hmm.
lot, and we use the wall as therapy, and that's great, but it's not a substitute. And so I love, I know festivals always incorporate yoga. That's great. That's good for the body, but it's like, what are we doing for the mind?
Mind. Yeah.
And so I love that. I love seeing that element because I don't think there's enough of it. And I do know that that is something that you are integrating as a part of this collective unified group of people is folks who may struggle with mental health.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like mental health comes in like different, it could be appear as anxiety for someone. It could appear as depression. It could be a food eating disorder or any a numerous amount of things. And I think when it comes to, again, like as I talked about with the climate community or in just like in the world, there's like such a stigma when it comes to mental health. Like, oh, it's not really a thing, or like, oh, like you're fine. You'll be just take a pill or whatever. But there's so much more to mental health. There's so many layers. There's so many factors that contribute to mental health. And again, it's like something that I definitely want to be able to provide a space for people who are, suffering from like so many numerous like pro athletes, like Kai Leitner or Melina Costanza, who have dealt with like eating disorders. Like for instance, Melina, it was debilitating because she ended up breaking this like bone in her foot and like wasn't able to like compete for like almost like kind of like a year or for quite some time. And I just, and luckily now like they're doing a lot more when it comes to like eating disorders, but again, like there's so many arching things when it comes to mental health that again I feel like we don't put enough emphasis on or give enough support, because like sometimes it's like, oh, we talk about it, but how are we doing, what are we doing to better the world for these people, you
Yeah.
know and there's really not much when it comes to specifically climbing programs and things like that nature. So
Yeah, I know there's like the grief fund, but even just on the trauma side of it, like I feel like there's so much nuance to just like whether it's witnessing trauma, experiencing trauma in
hmm
climbing, or even just like navigating personal things in that space. Like, it's just yeah, there's a stigma for sure. So I'll digress. All right, so we got another 3 hour event.
so
Um,
this one, yeah, this is going to be Life is Not a Cakewalk, The Art of Projecting, and it's by our girl Genevieve Walker. Yeah,
yes, I love her.
I know she's so much fun. I love her so much. But she'll be doing a class of talking about projecting and like her experiences with projecting, like how you can be better at projecting and just climbing harder. So that's why it's like life is not a cakewalk, because cakewalks are easy, and her last name is Walker. And then yeah.
You just be hitting them. You just be coming. I'm gonna call you when I need help naming workshop.
Oh yeah, please. It's like literally my like it's so much fun. Like coming up with the schedule, I was just like, oh, this will be a funny little name. Oh.
So before we get into these next few, do people have to register separately for these, or like how would someone participate in Genevieve's clinic or workshop if they wanted to? Is it just show up at the time?
Yeah, so the workshops and everything are like included with the cost of the festival, which is just $10, by the way.
$10. Y'all
Which
can't beat it.
Yeah, because like also one of the things when it comes to climbing and barriers, low income and like
Mhm.
financial barriers is like a huge thing. So I wanted to put this on as much low cost as I could. So mainly, to be honest, the money that is made from this event is going straight to the people who are
That's
helping.
yeah, yeah.
Like none of it's going to me. I'm getting $0, not even a penny from this. But I'm giving it all to the people that are like volunteering on my little fevered room that I have.
Mhm.
So, anyways, um, what were we talking about?
So I just wanted to know, as far as like, say I got my $10 ticket. I'm going.
Oh, yes, now I'm on it. I was like, wait, I was like talking about money, and then I'm like, where did we go from here? Yeah, so there will be like a separate registration closer to like the day of the event that you can sign up separately for these events.
Got
Just
you.
so we can like kind of have like a list of like these amount of people that will be in it and stuff like that. But it's not in the main registration because I couldn't figure out how to do something like that on the Eventbrite. So
Yeah, Eventbrite's funny, but it's
it's
fine. I
it's
mean,
fine.
once
Yeah.
you get your main ticket, I think that's the key, is so that they have the information to sign up for these individual events, and you know, go with the flow. You all see the schedule, you have the schedule, plan out what you want. I think now we're getting into some more workshops.
Yeah. So the next one is climbing is for everybody. This is being done by Drew Holsey, also known as Drew Climbs on Instagram. Sportiva athlete,
Nice.
other athletes. So super cool dude. And he's gonna be talking, and there's gonna be a little bit of climbing. It's about like equitable access when it comes to being a plus size climber and like navigating the climbing world while being like a plus size climber.
Awesome.
So that's climbing is for everybody. And I'm sorry, I'm probably going a little bit faster because I'm like, ooh, we've been talking
I
for
know, I know.
it's been so easy though. I know it's been so fun.
We'll
So
get
putting
to the schedule, but
yeah,
if anybody does have any questions, you can throw them in the chat. But I still think it's important to just dive into this schedule before we wrap up and really let people know
yeah.
what to expect.
And then putting the pieces together is like a little kind of trad intro to trad workshop that is being done by a colleague. His name is Ryan Leginson. Um, but yeah, it's like intro to trad. You're gonna learn how to place pieces and other trad paraphernalia. Um, and the cool thing about this, it's also so you're not like having because trad is, let's be honest, can be a wee bit scary.
Yeah.
But so it's like all going to be on top rope, so you're just kind of like placing the pieces as you go and like clipping like a trail rope kind of a thing. So to mitigate risk and things like that, there's no going to be like any actual like climbing on the gear that you are placing because
Got it.
obviously you're brand new to trad and I really don't want to have to deal with someone who like
Yeah.
fell and then unzipped and popped all those
Nope,
pieces out.
nope. We're not even speaking that into existence.
No, 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 no. Um, so anyway, so it's just going to be learning about placing pieces and like just like the basics when it comes to trad about like over camming, under camming, all that. Well, just things that goes into trad climbing. So that's what putting the pieces together because obviously trad pieces putting it together. Oh, boom. And then mend your own business. It's done by actually a good friend of mine. Her name is Mariah McCormick. Um, she's super cool. I always like to gloat her up. Um, she's done so much cool stuff. She is a tailor. She does a lot of things for film and television.
Mm.
On a lot of things that you've seen. Also, the thing that I really always gloat her up is she did like she worked in London for a long time, for a hot second, and she actually made a hat for the late great Queen Elizabeth.
What?
Yeah. So yeah. So her work has been on the head of royalty.
Yes,
And
flex.
she's also worked on costumes for numerous Broadway shows. I know she has stuff currently with Spamalot, and then she also has stuff she worked on with The Great Gatsby, the musical in New York. So she just all over, does all the things and tailoring stuff like that. But she has her own little like climbing boutique kind of business
Mm.
that is she makes chalk bags out of like repurposed materials. She does like other things using like climbing ropes as well. Like I know she has like little planters and stuff like that. So like doing that reduce, reuse, recycle, all that jazz.
Mhm.
But she also makes custom made climbing pants as well. So this little it's gonna be like kind of like a little artisan. Like if you like crafts and stuff like that, we're gonna be learning about like patching up like old like maybe like oh I got a little hole in my puffy or like I got a hole in my jeans. And you're gonna learn how to like patch things up and like repurpose like your old kind of items that you're like oh I can't use this anymore or anything like that. And then she's also going to talk about like creating her own business as like oh like you know being her own like small little woman led business and whatnot. So like admitting your own business.
Awesome. I love that.
And then the next one is actually my brother. Document what's out there. He is a filmographer. He does photography. He does all the things that uses cameras and lenses and all of the things. I'm not a very in-depth person when it comes to all of that things because I don't know much about it. But he is really he does a lot of like photography and does it like obviously like professionally. It's not like he's just like da da da. I mean that's also fine. But he does a lot of professional work when it comes to like recording cameras and all that jazz. And he has his own company too as well. And so he has this like thing that he is doing. It's like what's out there. It's like kind of like getting Black people out in nature and like documenting like things of being Black in the space of nature and the outdoor space.
Taking up space. I got you.
Yeah. And so that the name of it is like what's out there. And so that's why it's like documenting what's out there. So it's like kind of like a little photography class where you learn about like like creating a story using like your images and like telling a story through photography and all that jazz.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we got a silent auction,
Yeah.
which is great. It is the auction. I would hope the auction is going to be raising money for your nonprofit.
It actually is not going to be raising money for my nonprofit. It's actually going to be raising money for Climbing for a Change.
Oh yes, we love them.
It's actually we do love them. It's actually my little like, I guess kind of like a thank you, kind of pay it forward kind of thing because they've given me a grant, the Cliff Bar and Leadership Grant, to help put on this event. And so I want to be able to like raise some funds to be like, thank you so much for allowing me to create this space for all like this marginalized communities and underrepresented communities. And I want to be able to like, it's like not that I know it's a grant, but I consider it to be a loan, not a loan, but like as like a I want to pay it for it so that like thank you for like helping me, but now I want you to go and for it and like use this to help other people
Yeah.
move for it. So that's why all proceeds are going to them.
Nice.
And then the mixing it up in a pot is like a fun little just mixer.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can't have a festival without a little bit of party.
Little bit of party, a little bit of dancing under the little pavilion. So
All right, and then we wrap it up Sunday. With the tea, of course, and I guess it's kind of like the kickoff potluck, but kind of a farewell.
yeah, it's just like literally just hanging out, climbing throughout this sand rock, and just hopefully you've met people while you're at the festival, and you have new people you want to climb with, and it's just like literally out in the crag and just hanging out and making new friends, climbing new things, enjoying the beauty that is sand rock and climbing outside. And then whenever you want, you can leave.
You ain't gotta go home.
But I'm going home, so you can do whatever you want.
Nice. Well, I
Yeah.
just want to say again, I'm really proud of you and the work that you put into this space. Talking to you about this a few months ago, maybe a couple months
Hmm.
ago. It definitely sounded ambitious, and so I'm really excited that you put so much work into cultivating the exact space that you went into it trying to cultivate.
Hmm.
And you have a beautiful schedule and a beautiful space. And again, I just want to make sure that you get your shine, because I know how much work is involved. I know how much rest you're going to get on May 6th and how good you're going to feel after. It's a labor of love. I know, I get it.
It's actually funny. May 6th is actually the first day that we're launching our new BIPOC climbing meetup here in Atlanta. So I will be busy also running that May 6th. So, at some point we will sleep and we'll
One
do
day,
the things.
sleep is for suckers. It's
Yeah,
okay.
right?
It's overrated. Is there anybody else other than Climbing for Change that you want to give a shout out to, show some love to? Uh,
Of
or
course, like
making
any
this
of our sponsors, people that are helping with like events and things like that. So Patagonia is helping out, donating stuff to our silent auction. Public Lands is also doing the same thing. I have Lululemon providing mats for yoga.
happen?
So there are bougie mats if you don't know who Lulu is. And then like, again, Finca de Filter, who's providing the tea. Again, the list of great leaders and people that are going to be leading these workshops, because I could not do this without any of them.
Mhm.
So they are the MVPs of the, like, I want people to not even pay attention to me. Like, this whole festival is not about me. It's about the people leading and like the experience and that they're gonna have, you know. So.
Awesome. So if people have questions, if people are just like they want some more information or they want to connect with you, like how can people connect with you beyond this YouTube live?
Yeah, no, I'm always on YouTube Live. What do you mean? I'm sorry. Um, so if you're interested in more information about like the potluck, the at the Alabama Potluck, will be the best bet to like reach out to me because it goes straight to me. So like message the Instagram group or Instagram page, whatever. If you're interested, I'm just gonna go through all the socials. My personal social, if you ever want to reach out to me, is jtray94. Is JAYTRAY 94. Or again, Unharnessed Pride. And then you can visit us on climbbeyondthebarrier.org. And you can again get connected with us through like donations, or you can also like send us emails and things like that. And all that information can be found on our website.
Awesome. And I just dropped the link to where you can get tickets in the. So get your tickets. If you have questions, reach out, hit the DMs if you want something fast and furious. But head to the south. It's gonna be May. It's gonna be nice. I feel like the tide is turning. I'm on the East Coast, so when I
Mm-hmm.
see a week of like 70s, I'm like,
Ooh.
spring is now
Yeah.
here. And then next week it'll be like 95. So
Yeah, of course, of course.
it's okay. But again, I am so proud of you. I know we went over a few minutes, but I just want to thank you for taking this time to share what it is you're doing, to be in this space, and just, continue the work you're doing to diversify the climbing space. I think it's important work. And again, I'm here for you. Everything I do in my space is to elevate you and our people, and make sure that we continue to excel.
Yeah,
So
and then same goes to you, from me to you.
yes,
So yeah,
yeah,
we're here to work together so we can all achieve what
it's
we
the
want.
only way it works. I
Yeah.
can't stress that enough. I know we have a history, but it's got to happen. If
Hmm.
collaboration, if coexisting doesn't work, and uplifting each other, it's just, I don't know. But I just want to thank y'all for watching. We'll be back, weekly videos, posting the climbs, the sins, the bouldering, the problems, and all the fun things. So definitely stay tuned, hit subscribe. You can find me on Black Girls Boulder. But yeah, in the meantime, between time, y'all, see you next climb.
Hey, bye.